Okay, for this next video we're going to do the Budapest Gambit, which is a great opening to play against people who like to play d4, people who are inclined to play the Queen's Gambit. You can use this as an alternative to just go along with going along with the Queen's Gambit accepted or declined, or the Grunfeld or the King's Indian Defense. And it's a good opening because it's not played a whole lot, and it'll take white a lot of the time out of his comfort zone. And this opening, something that's very, very thematic in this opening is playing the exception to the rule. You can take white off guard because a lot of moves that would normally, just be considered the right thing to do, knights before bishops, things like that, it's the wrong thing to do in this opening. So you can try and take them off guard there. It starts out d4, knight f6, pretty common, c4, and then you play a move that on the surface it looks dumb, and that's e5, because you're giving a pawn away and you're violating the rule of having to move the same piece twice in the opening. So after they take, you do knight to g4, and then knights before bishops generally, right? And they'll do that typically, and that's actually the wrong thing to do in this opening, because it means they're not going to be able to hold on to this pawn. After you do bishop to c5, that forces e3 because of the pressure on f2, and now they've boxed in their own dark square bishop. And so you just develop your knight, and there's no hurry to take this pawn. You can wait back on it and just get in some good developing moves. You put your rook out there on the e file. It's going to be right at home there. And after you retake, d6 is pretty common, and that's the best move because it's an efficient move. It allows you to both protect two pieces, and you're opening up your light squared bishop. And after this, you've got a pretty good setup. You've got good development, and you've just taken white out of their comfort zone. We'll look at another variation. And in this one, if they move their bishop out first, they can potentially hold on to their pawn, but I'll show you a way that you can get pretty decent compensation. With that check there, if they do knight to c3, you just go ahead immediately and double their pawns. And so materially you're still down a pawn, but as far as the position goes, that pawn of theirs that's doubled, that's only worth a half a pawn. So you've got good compensation for it. And you want to go ahead. A problem could be, you could get a problem out of the hanging knight there, so you just want to do f6, encouraging the exchange there. And now your knight's safe, and the queen has to move again, so you're not really losing a tempo. And again, d6, and you don't have any pieces hanging, but white still has that problem of that doubled pawn, and that's something you can look to exploit later on. One more line we'll look at. Now, if they put their knight on d2 instead of c3, we're going to be able to regain that pawn because they block their own queen in with their knight. And again, a pretty nice setup. You could look into, of course, d6 is going to be a natural move because you're opening up that white square bishop, and you could, depending on the lines that follow, you could castle on either side. Just it depends on what your opponent plays. It's still a nice setup, and the material is even. And lastly, we'll look into the advanced variation, the decline variation. This is the least theory intensive variation you can get into, and it's also the best for black. You just do bishop to c5, and again d6, opening up for the other bishop. There's not a whole lot to it. Something to keep in mind. You can put some pressure on that f7 square with that bishop. You know, you could potentially move that knight to g4 later on. It's pretty straightforward, but I would say the advantage would be to black, because if you look at white, they only have one piece out. You have two minor pieces out. Your white square bishop is already open. Their white square bishop is still behind a pawn. Advantage is to white, and if you're efficient in your opening, you can build that advantage. And that's the Budapest. I'm going to direct you, instead of a game I played, there was, I'm going to send a link in the description. I'm going to put down in there a game that the king of all media, Howard Stern, played with the Budapest, because I think it was a lot more interesting than any Budapest games I've played. And the guy he did a good job, and it's pretty interesting, neat little video. It's the decline variation, and you can really see how you can really just trounce white if they make just slow moves, non-developing moves. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, comment, rate, subscribe. I've changed my program that I used. Last time I used SID's Shane's Chess Information Database. This time I'm using, I think it's GNU Chess, and so you don't have all this stuff to the left, to the right, to the top, to the bottom. You just you're able to see the board more clearly. I think that's a complaint someone has, so hopefully it's a bit more easy on the eyes, this video, than the last one. And see you next time.